Hey guys, we are recording. So I am joined by Klara Cu.
Hello.
Hey Clara. If you don't know who she is a designer, a brand photographer, an educator for entrepreneurs launching online courses, coaching programs, and membership sites. So she basically helps those who are ready to up level their content to match the level of success that they've achieved and spend less time stuck in the details. And we know something about that in the details of content creation so that they can really focus on the overall vision. All right. Hey, Clara.
Hello, Mary. Thanks for having me tonight.
You are welcome. So, kind of start wherever you want to start and just tell us how you got started doing the work that you do.
Well, I started my business back in 2014, and in the beginning, it was really more photography focused. But then I also actually have a corporate job where I found myself doing a lot of like templates and guides for my peers who didn't have a design background, but they wanted an easy way to, like, when they communicate a presentation or message, um, what's something that they could quickly just edit on their own. So I found myself like making these things over and over, and I found how much I liked it.
Mhm.
And started to want to offer that in addition to photography. And I actually have a background, I have degrees in both advertising and communication design. So all of that like went hand in hand. So for me, like some of the stuff that people dread, like when it comes to like making a presentation or putting all like the graphics or assets together, if they find that overwhelming, that's the kind of stuff I kind of just love doing automatically. Um, and so I really liked working with coaches and people with membership programs because those were the type of folks who needed that kind of stuff on a recurring basis, because each time they taught something new, they would need something to help teach that, like whether it was like a worksheet or a presentation. And that's where I could come in, because I love making those things.
Awesome. So the type of work that I do is I help coaches set marketing goals and then implement repeatable systems. So who is your target audience and what problem do you solve for them?
So as you mentioned before, I really love working with those in like the coaching, launching a webinar space, because there is so much content that goes into launching those types of programs, like not just from like the social media aspect, but actually like what are the course content materials that they make. And I found that, the people that really needed my services, like in the beginning, when you start your business out, you're kind of scrappy, you have a more DIY mentality, right? Like, you know what, I can do everything myself. That's okay if it's not perfect, but as long as the content is out there, that's the important thing. But then there's a certain level that after you've reached a certain level of success, what I would hear people say is, hey, I've achieved a level of success in my business, but when I look at my materials, it's not matching the level that my business has achieved. It doesn't have that polished professional look. And now I'm at the stage where I can afford to invest in some of that. And so that's the target that I'm really trying to tap into, because not only do they have, more bandwidth to like outsource that, but they're at that level where they really can't get stuck in the content creation process like they were doing in the beginning. Like time is so much more valuable, and they'd rather spend it not in like Canva or Photoshop or whatever. They need to be focused on strategically where are they taking in their business, what's their vision going forward. And they can either hire me to do it for them or at least give them resources to help them do it faster.
Gotcha. And speaking of vision, what is the
Mhm.
vision for your business?
My vision is I really want to reach um, more people in the coaching space, because while there's programs out there that kind of guide you in how to put together what you want to maybe teach about your course, I think there's more support needed for how do you actually design that content and put it together to make that launch easier. Like, how do you de-stress from launching? And because the digital course has, skyrocketed and will continue to skyrocket, I feel like there's a really nice niche. I always forget which way to say that word. There's a really good sweet spot to help other entrepreneurs out like that, especially in the education space where it's so important that your materials are clear and concise and are presented well. That's really where I think I could scale up and help all of these online course creators that are really booming now.
Hmm. So I have a quick question for you. So you mentioned launch a couple of times. So what does launch mean for you? The ladies that I work with, some of them are just getting started in business, and some of them have been going for a while. So that would mean something different for each of them. So just kind of let us know what you mean when you say launch.
So launch, I consider it in the 3 stages. There's the pre-launch, the launch itself, and the post-launch. So the pre-launch is how are you getting as many people as possible registered for, let's say, your webinar. And one of the key ways you can do that is, how are you growing your email list, let's say, with opt-ins? Like maybe you want to grow your email list by offering a very juicy lead magnet that your audience, can't wait to have, like top 10 tips for XYZ, right? And so a lot of times I'll work with clients who they have an idea of what, let's say, they want that lead magnet to be, just the concept. They might not even have the words, but they have just the concept. And I'll do like a session with them just to hear them out. And then I can translate that into like, oh, what you're going to offer then is this one sheet of your top 10 resources for XYZ. And here's the design to make it match your brand, etc. So generating however many, lead magnets they would need to drive up towards their launch. Mm-hmm. And then for the launch part itself, a lot of that, people tend to be teaching with like, presentations. Maybe they want their viewing audience to follow along with like a worksheet or a guide as they're talking through. So those are the type of materials that go with that. And then the post-launch is, usually we're familiar with an email sequence like, hey, you missed the live, but here's the replay of all the things. And oh, by the way, here's a link to maybe Spark Notes or, short recaps. And those ideally would be branded too, right? So everything that goes into all those assets before, during, and after encompasses like what I consider the launch assets. And of course, however you're promoting it on social.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Thanks for giving us the definition of launch. So how would you describe your definition of success? What does success look like for you?
For me, success is, did each person that I get to work with find that after their interaction with me or my services, did they find that they were more confident in whatever they were doing for their business? Whether it was helping them show up more consistently or feeling that they were presenting something more polished to their audience, that level of confidence that they walk away with is for me like how I consider a successful job well done. I would say like my favorite feedback that I get is when people say, oh, you helped me find a way to, you helped me either find the words or the visuals to help me communicate my vision in a way that I could never figure out how to say before. And there's so much power in that when they find that like, yes, that's it, that eureka moment, that's kind of the stuff that I live for. Like that's what makes any amount of work worth it, when they walk away feeling so good about what they're doing now.
Awesome. Yeah. When we work in our zones of genius and the clients have aha moments, it is pretty fabulous to watch. So I don't think I prepped you for this, but do you ever talk about like money? Do you have any money goals for success?
Money goals. Oh, you did not prep me for this. I actually did recently an exercise where I have a number in my mind. I have a monthly number goal that I would like to achieve. That is, because what I did was I looked back from the previous year and says, okay, I made this much. What's my realistic money goal and what is my stretch money goal? If I wanted to be conservative, I would say, okay, realistically, can I make, and this number of course is different for everyone, but can I make,
numbers? I'm going to share Brooke Castillo's number, so don't worry.
Yeah. Like, if I consider my realistic goal 5% more each month than I made last year, that's great. 10% would be like my stretch, like, oh man, like I really killed it. But the fact that, when I first started, I didn't really track my numbers that way. I didn't have a number to baseline to say, hey, this is what I did last year, and this is what I'm going to try to achieve this year. I kind of went the first few years like, well, I hope I just make more. Yeah. But now that I've been in it longer, it's like, declaring your number is so much more important. So, because if you don't have that focused target, how do you know like what you're marching towards, in the coming year? So.
That's right. So setting that goal and then assessing it will help you kind of make the changes that you need to actually achieve it.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just reading my emails earlier today, and Brooke Castillo, she just made $25.4 million
That's
this
a
year.
great number.
That is, yeah, that's an amazing number. So, anything is possible.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty. So, what are some of your favorite tools to help you make your business run smoother?
So I have three that I wanted to just touch on real quick.
Okay.
One is, ever since Facebook rolled out their content creator studio, I have absolutely loved it, just because you can manage both your Facebook and Instagram posts in one interface.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so much faster for me to upload my content on the desktop than doing it on mobile. I can still tweak things on mobile, but when I'm like trying to batch content and upload and schedule them out, I found that it's been awesome. And getting to see all my insights in one place has been great. So if, for those of you who haven't tried Content Creators Facebook Creator Studio out, I highly recommend it. It's already part of your like Facebook account, so why not go in and mess around with it. The second one is for video editing on your phone. I've been using Video Shop. So Video Shop is there's a free version of it. Basically, you can like stitch together little video scenes. So if you're doing little snippets throughout the day, you want to kind of stitch them together. Video Shop lets you do that. You can add graphics and text and music and sound effects to it. I don't know if you've ever used it yourself, Mary.
I have not.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to use. Like, it's robust enough that you can make some really nice polished stuff, but it's like not so feature crazy that you're like, this is way too hard. So Video Shop, I recommend. And I believe that's for both iPhone and Android. Yeah. And then the third one is I love Trello. Have you heard of Trello?
I have.
Okay, so Trello, for those of you who don't know, it's this awesome task management tool. It's built a lot around, if you're a lover of to-do lists, then I think you will fall in love with Trello. But basically, you can create various to-do lists on different boards. So oftentimes I will use, let's say, a board, even something personal like, hey, what are my chores for the day, or my grocery list for the day?
Mm-hmm.
For my business, I use it to kind of high level plan out like, hey, in this month, what is the content I'm trying to hit on a week by week basis? And you can drag and reorder items within a list if you decide that you want to do something in a different order or in a different priority. It also, again, has a free version. So, and you can do a ton in the free version too. So it's like a great task management tool.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So I'm excited. I'm going to try Video Shop. So she mentioned Facebook Creator, which I use, and it definitely saves time. Video Shop, which I hadn't heard of. So when you say you take videos, like little clips during the day, like, can you save them, or how does that work? Are they like all separate videos in your phone, or can you keep starting and stopping on that one?
So for example, let's say I did a 10-second clip of me eating, and then later on in the day I did a 10-second clip of me, like, I don't know, walking down the street, talking to the camera. And then another video, let's say coming home from work. I can go into Video Shop and I can select those 3 separate videos and bring them into the interface and trim any extra footage from each video, and then export it as like one complete video, seamless. And on top of each video, if, like I said, if you wanted to add extra layers or text, you can add it, and that exports out with music, with words, etc. It doesn't replace your 3 original videos, so you still have, the raw original version. You just have a nice finished video on your phone as well.
Awesome. So like Zoom videos, can you edit those as well? Like, can you have the app on your like Mac or whatever?
I haven't actually checked to see if they have a desktop version, because I've only been using it on my mobile phone. But I feel like if you had a Zoom video downloaded on your mobile device and it was just one of the things you could select and add, and then trim, then you should be able to do that.
Yep, that makes sense. Okay, so I am a lover of systems. So tell me about some of the systems that you have in your business.
I would like to talk about, like, because posting content consistently, that's hard. Trying to keep up with it. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about like, how did I make it easier on myself? Because before, when I didn't have a plan, of course it was hard. The biggest thing that's helped me is figuring out like what the foundation would be. What are the content categories that I consistently know that I can post about? And I had my 7. People can have more or less, but I had things where I know once a week I want to post something about me, something personal, like a personal insight or like a get to know me. And then I need to show like some kind of behind the scenes of what I'm doing, something community related to show my involvement with, you know, what's happening locally in my area. And then a 4th one is some kind of tip of the day, whether it's photography or design related. 5 is highlighting a product or service, like maybe my people don't know that I actually do this thing and it can be used in this way. And the last one is like inspiration. And then from those content categories, I have like subcategories of like, okay, what are the things about me that I constantly talk about? So I could say that, you know, my love of jogging, my love of Disney, how I love working with my husband. So those are 3 things I know I can consistently talk about. And that one is key just because if you find that you're not talking about it often naturally, then it becomes so much harder to come up with either a caption or an article for it. Yeah. And then the other system was having my planning day on Sunday, where I get to look back at the previous week and look at insights to see what worked. And then using Sunday also to plan, okay, what can I really talk about for the coming week? And so that planning day for me can be at least a couple hours, but I found that is time well spent instead of feeling scattered throughout the week.
Yes, those are great systems. You mentioned behind the scenes. I am terrible at that one. I don't think I maybe have like 1 or 2 behind the scenes. So I need to improve on that one because that is like one of the ones that I wanted to use on stories. And I found myself spending like a lot of time on LinkedIn and Facebook, and I have gotten, I hate to say this, completely away from Instagram. I'm gonna get back over there, but yeah, the behind the scenes, it was easier to post it there, but I was not being consistent because I was having the mindset block of, oh my gosh, what am I gonna post?
Was it also hard because the things you wanted to shoot of just behind the scenes, you were by yourself, so you didn't have someone to take it? So when I know that I want the behind the scenes of something, I try to schedule it so like my husband is like the ultimate Instagram husband. So I try to schedule it where it's like, hey, I'm doing a shoot at the house at 2. Can you just be there maybe in the beginning and take some photos of me, like, you know, maybe posing or working with the client? So at least I tell him ahead of time so I know I'll have something. So I don't know, if someone can like be with you briefly if you know you have an event or something.
Yeah. I'm gonna work on that. But thanks for the reminder on that one. So what is your favorite social media platform?
Mine is Instagram. There was a time, and I'm trying to just really get back into Facebook more, but Instagram I just naturally fell in love with. Honestly, just because for the photo aspect, I always take so many photos on Instagram anyway that it was kind of just natural for me to want to post there. And I really do love the stories because I find that I don't feel so, like there's less pressure to be so pristine on an Instagram story than, let's say, your feed. Like Instagram story just lets me be more in the moment. And it wasn't in a Snapchat, so I'm like, I'll just stick with Instagram story to show brief snippets of my life. And you know, they've been adding a lot of tools, so I feel like they're actively trying to like develop and be more engaging. So I like being in the Instagram space.
Awesome. And you mentioned like the photos. My photos were always clunky, even when I tried my best. So would you say that they're moving away from so much of the curated stuff, or like, yeah, because my photos weren't matching the one beside it or below it? So would you say that Instagram is moving away from that just a bit, or what's your view on that?
My view of it is, I think a little bit, yeah, that people seem to be responding more to like those authentic, imperfect moments than the clean, clean, beautiful perfection all the time. I think there's certainly the place to be able to mix and match those raw moments. I used to be more obsessed about having like this cohesive curated feed and then thinking like I shouldn't post that because it doesn't match the color scheme. And honestly, I just let that go, and it became a lot easier to be like, you know what, this is what I felt like posting in that moment, and if it already fell in one of my content categories anyway, then why shouldn't I post it, right? So as long as my main goal that I have right now is within my grid of 9, have I mentioned something personal about myself so that it looks like it's a human person? That's really more of the rule I follow now.
Mm-hmm. All right, and this is kind of a segue, or what you said is going to take us into the next question, so you probably have started to answer it already.
Mm-hmm.
So my audience is mostly coaches and consultants, so they can benefit from systems for staying visible online. And you definitely gave some good tips, so I'm sure people are going to jot those down to kind of like, get them started. Do you have any other advice that you'd like to give to them?
Yes, and to say like you're saying, so having these templates and scripts ahead of time, while it might take some time to like put it together, they are like lifesavers in terms of time. Like especially if you get to work with someone who can nail how you actually want your stuff to look and how you want your words to sound, it will save you so much time, because then all you have to worry about is like what the heck it is you want to say or write. And I found that, so I have a design background, so most of this time I was using like software like Photoshop or like Illustrator, etc. But not everyone has that, right? Like not everyone has that software tools. So when I discovered Canva, which they have like a free plan as well, and all the things you could do to design on there, I thought that was a game changer. Like honestly, I often find myself doing more stuff in Canva than Photoshop just because it's so fast. And one of my biggest pieces of advice is, whether you're still doing content yourself or hiring someone to help you out for you, if you just set yourself up with enough templates ahead of time, then it makes making your content, so much easier.
Great advice. The key is planning, really.
Yeah.
So in your business, what is one of the components of your core message?
The big one that I try to describe like my whole like approach to is the done is better than perfect, because perfection is very paralyzing. You want to do something over and over before you release this awesomeness to the world, right? And sometimes it holds you back so much that you end up not sharing that at all because you don't think it's perfect. And that's really true also with video. Like I've met so many people, like when I would take their photo, they'll ask me, especially women, they ask like, oh, I feel like I should lose weight before I get this photo shoot. I don't think I look right, for the photo. And I'm like, there's never really a right time. Like you can be beautiful no matter what weight. There's no perfect weight to be. Same thing with video. I think the best thing to do is to get out there. And honestly, just as scary as it sounds, to start with like live video instead of pre-recorded, because you can just be raw. You don't have to get caught up with taking like multiple takes before you decide to post something. And if you approach it knowing that you're going to be awkward in the beginning, and there's a high chance that you'll have very few people watching, but that's okay because that's basically your practice time. Right. Honestly, the second or third time you do it, you'll be fine. You'll realize it's just like talking to someone across the coffee table, and it's okay. So just if you can just put aside the idea of this non-existent perfection and just go out and do it, that's how you get better.
Absolutely. So are you an introvert or extrovert?
I am an introvert. Okay. And the reason I classify myself as an introvert is, even though like I'm chatty, like in group settings, it's a little draining for me when I'm with a big group of people. I need to decompress very quickly after I'm in a big group setting for like a couple hours. Yeah. So I kind of classify myself as an introvert.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Yeah, I just like to go off alone and kind of recharge, but I will show up when I, you know,
Mm-hmm.
fix it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Alrighty. So there's this thing, right? I have this framework called the 4Ds that I like to walk my clients through. So we're gonna do a quick exercise.
Okay.
So the 4Ds, number one is dive into your time to see where all of your time is going. Number two is do what only you can do. Number three is delegate or outsource. And number four is ditch the rest. So I'm gonna ask you those questions.
Okay.
And you already answered this one. I'm a good listener. You do this every week. How often do you dive into your schedule to see what's working?
So I have the Sunday as that big planning retrospective day. And then I'm usually looking at my Trello board. I try to do it at least like once a day across my different boards. And what I've started doing when organizing my to-dos is having them in 3 buckets. I have one bucket that says what's most important and what's most urgent. So what are the things that are really supporting my vision and they should be done quickly. What's most important but not so urgent, like yes, this will support my vision, but I don't have to do it right now. And then I have this bucket called urgent, not as important. So it's like when someone asks me, hey, can you like go pick up that dry cleaning for me tomorrow? I'm like, that's the not important bucket. It's kind of urgent, I guess, but you're going to go in there because as long as I knock out that first column, then I know I can get to that and not feel bad. Because I used to just put everything in one to-do list and it just would be too overwhelming. I wouldn't know what to prioritize.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Okay, so tell us about something in your business that only you can do.
For me, it's what did I say? It's how I can listen to how someone talks about their business and then retranslate that back into copy and visuals that hit on like what they want their vision to be and what their brand is. And I don't really know how I could pass that along to someone just because sometimes my strategy calls, I just tell them, hey, just talk to me. You don't even have to prepare, just talk to me, and I interview them a little bit. And most of the time I record it. And when I hear it back, like for an example, I can take what you say and create like an outline or a curriculum. Even if you didn't say it in the order that you would teach it, I can figure that out. And then be able to brainstorm like, oh, this is an exercise that you can do for this section, or this is the download you should offer for this section. And I think it's just like all my years working in corporate, having to always listen like that, I've been able to hone that skill.
Awesome. So are you the only one that takes pictures in your business, or can you have someone helping you to do that, or what?
Typically, I'm a solopreneur right now. I've had a few instances where I'll have my husband or one of a fellow photographer be like a second assistant, like usually a lighting assistant on the shoot. But primarily, it's me taking the photos. But your other question was outsourcing, delegating. I do delegate the video editing part. Like video is so important, but I do not want to be editing videos. And he handles shooting it. Like I'll come up with like the base concept and script, but I don't want to deal with like the editing part at all.
So is this the editing for your like Facebook Lives or your work with the client?
Both.
Okay.
Usually I'm the one who's really interfacing with the client, and then I'll be like, hey, John's my husband's name. It's like, I think here's a storyboard of what we should do. And then he handles how he'll film it, like the angles. And then usually in the editing process, I'll sit with him and say, okay, yeah, that's close to what he or she or I am looking for.
Yeah.
And then he'll adjust accordingly. But it's easier for me to just come in and give some feedback than me trying to like reorder all the clips myself and color grade and all the stuff that he's already brilliant at.
Awesome. Zones of genius.
Yep.
Alrighty, so for the last D, ditch it. What actions have you had to ditch in the last 6 months?
Okay, I haven't ditched it yet, but I plan to. I want to hire a bookkeeper because I've been managing on my own. I had QuickBooks for a little while, but I'm like, I don't like it. So I need to ditch that level of stress each time I go in there trying to categorize and figure out my stuff. The other thing I'm planning on ditching is I was using MailChimp for kind of ever since the beginning for my email list, but I recently bought Kajabi, and I want to transfer over to use Kajabi for all my email newsletters. I think it's much more robust, so I'm looking forward to making that transition.
Awesome. So you have a lot of buzzwords in this interview. So people are like, what is this? What is this? What is this? Yeah, so I did MailChimp as well in the beginning, and then I switched to ActiveCampaign. Yeah, so I have a WordPress site, so that's kind of the way that I went. But Kajabi is pretty cool.
Yeah, and I had purchased it anyway because I'm planning to launch my own course using Kajabi. So it was nice that all that email marketing stuff was built in.
So is it extra for the email marketing, and how does that work?
So the plan, they have 3 major plans. I think and the only difference in the plan is I think how many subscribers or how many pipelines you can set up. But the email marketing came with it, like how you could set up as many email sequences as you need or how many landing pages, that came with it already.
Awesome. I'm finding that I'm going to need to kind of segment my list. Like I'm talking the same marketing systems to everybody, but like I'm a life coach. So it's like I may need to think about segmentation and like pretty cool. Alrighty. Did you have anything that you wanted to share with us? Any visuals, or what would I call it? A tutorial or anything?
Yeah, since we were talking about Canva templates earlier and, categorization, I thought I'd show like a little snippet of some of the things I've done for myself as well as for other business owners, just to see, if anyone in your group would find that helpful.
Awesome. I know I'm going to find it helpful. So, alrighty.
And I guess I will share screen.
I'm going to stop my video and watch.
And then let me make sure like my desktop is clean. I'm like one of those where I have a ton of tabs open.
Yeah, I'm gonna be.
And I've people like say that they're stressed out when they look at my my stuff.
Yeah, I'm like the systems lady, and I like have at least 18. But I'm gonna do the one tab thing, so we can do that.
I do that too, and all I do is I just hoard them in the tabs. Okay. So I just wanted to show off Canva for a little bit. So I'm logged in right now into my own Canva account, and I just wanted to start by showing some of the templates that I've made. Let me see if I can.
Do you mind if I ask questions as we go?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you could see my screen, right, Mary?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So here is some, not all, but I just grouped these quickly together. But here are some templates based on things like I'm commonly posting anyway, right? So for example, I have this template that I use whenever I have some kind of speaking event where all I'm doing is, changing the title, the date and time where I am going to do this event. So a few months ago, I had a talk about how to use Instagram to drive business results. So I had this template set up. This is the picture that I always use. And then, later in November, I repurposed it again because I did a little Facebook Live on how to use Canva to repurpose content across platforms. So all I had to worry about was changing the title and the date and time. So that's one template that's, I'm getting a lot of use out of, right? And I was able to design it once in this square dimension and then quickly resize and recreate it for Instagram story live dimensions too. When possible, I try to optimize the size based on the device they're viewing it on. So I took the extra step to make a vertical one. I have a couple templates I use whenever I'm announcing a new blog post I have up. So I had done one a few months ago about, new blog posts, 5 types of people you need in your network. And whenever I write a new one, all I worry about is changing this text and the image behind it. And typically the image I use is already the image I'm using for the blog header. So it's not like I'm picking, a new image. And then I'll just jump to this one. Inspiration is one of my categories. So whenever I have some type of inspirational quote, I have like these are my main brand colors. Mint and purple are my main colors, but I already have that set. And again, all I have to worry about is the text here in the middle. So it's a quick way where I can do plug and play, right? I just have to figure out my words. So whatever you find you are constantly posting, can you take one and decide like what is the format that you want to stick to, so that all you have to worry about is changing the images or the text. So that's my big suggestion.
Awesome. I love that. I really like this one about the blog post, because I do mine. I think when I write a new, I don't have a system around it. I just kind of like willy-nilly just post. But yeah, I like the idea of just kind of having an alert. New blog post alert. Yeah.
And you can give yourself variations like this one here. It's same idea. I just gave myself a different layout, just so I have some flexibility, right? Like this one is more of a split screen one, but still the core idea is this is my layout, doesn't change. I just changed out the words in the image. So if you find that you don't want to be tied to just one layout all the time, give yourself some grace to have some variations. But like, maybe not more than 3, because then it gets crazy.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's pretty cool. All righty. Well, we are nearing the end of the interview. So I want to have a little bit of fun and do some rapid fire questions.
Okay.
Let's see if we can make the screen bigger.
I think I have to stop sharing.
All righty. So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, like just rapid fire questions, okay? All righty. So what are you afraid of?
I'm afraid of biking, actually. I don't know how to bike, really. Never learned as a kid, and my husband's cousin, when I was 26 years old, he finally got me to like ride a bike, and I could kind of stay balanced. But I didn't know how to like brake or turn properly, so I almost hit a parked car. So I just fell. Like I just panicked, didn't know how to do the brakes. And so my husband keeps saying like, hey, when we go travel, you should learn how to bike so we can get around more than just walking. And I'm just really scared. And especially on a road with actual cars, I'm scared. I have to figure that out.
We took our family's bikes, and so our bikes we let the neighbors use, and then I took my dad's bike, and we were like riding up to like this busy street, and I was like going too fast or something weird was happening, and I like put on brakes and fell into a rose bush. I had like stickers everywhere. It was awful.
But at least you can bike. Oh,
so dark chocolate or milk chocolate?
Milk chocolate.
Alrighty. What did you eat for breakfast?
I was pretty basic today. I just had an apple.
Okay. If you had a yacht, what would you call it?
I would call it the Wind Waker, which I think is what the video game Zelda, the video game character, that's his little ship thing, the Wind Waker. So.
Gotcha. All right, well, thanks so much for playing along, and thanks so much for joining me for the interview. So where can we find you?
I am most active on Instagram. This is my favorite platform. My Instagram handle is at Klara Cu Photography Design. And one thing I wanted to offer is I'm working on these icon packs that people can use in Canva, where they can change the icons to whatever their brand colors are. So if any of your audience wanted to DM me on Instagram and just mention that they were part of your pop-up group, I was doing a 20% discount off that.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that generous offer. So Klara Cu, it's late. Find her over on Instagram, and you may see this video in other places, but you can find her over on Instagram. And I'll have a checklist in the comments, 5 marketing tips at www.marystewart.net/checklist. All righty. I think that is it. And we're going to be outie.
Okay, have a good night. Thank you again.
Good night.